Welcome to Masterclass number 6. I want to begin this session by asking you a very important question. How important is happiness to you? This is not a trick question. In the priorities of your life, where does happiness stand? You might say, of course happiness is important to me. It's maybe the most important thing in my life. Okay. Here's 2 more questions. When do you plan to be happy? And how do you plan to achieve that? Each of us wants to be happy. Happiness is one of the most basic human desires, and yet so little is known or understood about it. What exactly is happiness? Is it contentment? Being at peace? Being ecstatic or joyful? What causes happiness, and what makes it go away? Can it be permanent? These are important questions, and yet few of us seem to know the answers. Is it achieving our goals which makes us happy? Is it health, wealth, personal fulfillment? One would think that having these things would make us happy, but it seems that the answer is not so obvious or simple as that. There are people that are in excellent health, and yet they're desperately unhappy. There are multimillionaires who are miserable, and people of very little means who are content. Some people are highly successful in their careers, and yet they feel that they have nothing. Others who have achieved much less are perfectly happy. Obviously, there is more here than meets the eye. So, just what is it that brings happiness? Is there a secret to happiness that if we knew this secret, we would be forever happy? Many years ago, I set off on a journey to seek the answer to these questions. I've spent time in Himalayan hermitages with Buddhist monks, in jungles with African healers, in sweat lodges with North American indigenous shamans. Many wise men and women have helped me in my journey, including the great teachings of our religions. And yes, there is a secret, and it can be summed up in one sentence. And once you know this secret, you will possess the ability to live a happy life. Actually, I wrote a book about the journey, and the title of the book is The Practice of Happiness. Not the pursuit of happiness, but the practice of happiness. And this is the first clue to the secret of happiness. On this journey, I discovered that there are certain practices that help us obtain happiness. These practices are daily habits that you invite into your life, like you would an old friend or a wise teacher. And you will find that each practice, when mastered, will indeed become a friend and teacher. And in this session, I will share these practices with you. I want to give you the first insight into happiness. Happiness exists within. It doesn't happen outside of us. It happens within us. Each of us is the catalyst to our own happiness. But now I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's explore the practices first before I reveal the secret of happiness. This way you will understand the process. The first practice is called Follow the Call. Many years ago, I had an experience that profoundly changed my life, and I will recreate it for you. I am 21, living in Toronto, riding the streetcar to work while reading Henry Miller for the first time. I'm a claims examiner at Allstate Insurance. It isn't a particularly exciting job, but it's okay, and besides, you have to do something with your life. Each day I take the Queen Street streetcar to work and get off at Bay Street. This particular morning, I am totally immersed in Miller's book, his writing style, his life as an artist, his freedom, his courage to pursue what he believed in, even though he was sometimes hungry and always broke, and no one would publish his work. I have to catch myself looking up a number of times to make sure I don't miss my stop. When the most delicious thought enters into my mind, what if I don't get off? What if I just stay on the streetcar and don't go to work, never go to work, just quit without notice? It's an outrageous idea. And then I think how irresponsible this would be. People are counting on me. I have files to attend to. You can't be selfish, I tell myself. If you're going to quit, do it properly and give notice. But the thought will not go away. It's a beautiful spring day, unseasonably warm, and the sun is shining, and I feel alive with possibilities. Bay Street is now just 2 stops away, and I don't know whether I'm going to get off or not. 1 stop away, and still I don't know. Strangely, there's no inner dialogue, no arguing back and forth. It's like I'm watching a movie with myself in it. I am totally unaware of what's going to happen. Suddenly, I'm at my stop. The scene is charged. I'm at a crossroads, a destiny point in my life. The door opens. Am I getting out or not? I don't know. I'm in fate's hands. And here, it's as if time slows. The door seems to remain open forever. There's plenty of time to get out. It's almost like a surreal situation. And it feels like the door is open for 5 or 10 minutes, but I look around and I can see that no one seems to notice. So obviously it's just happening inside me. Am I getting off or not? Then suddenly it closes and the streetcar lurches on. I sit in my seat, totally amazed at what has happened. I ride the streetcar for another 20 minutes. I'm in unknown territory now. Seeing a park, I get out, find a bench, and continue to read Henry Miller. Sometime in the afternoon, I call the company and quit on the spot. Over the next 3 years, I wrote my first novel, which was never published. However, this led to a writing career, and now, 6 books later, I can safely say that I'm a successful writer. Not only that, but following my call led me to building a cabin in the woods and creating my mind power training. It was a destiny point in my life. I had made the right choice. Recently, I was telling the streetcar story to a friend of mine, a Jungian psychologist, and he said, "What do you think would have happened if you had have got off the streetcar?" And I said, "I'd probably be manager by now." And that was a possibility for me. But I had heard the call and acted on it, so a different destiny unfolded for me. And this is how life works. To discover your happiness, you must first discover what pleases you, that place where your heart leaps for joy. This is your first clue. Follow your instincts. They are within you for a reason. They are the signposts to an exciting and fulfilling life. Choose paths that feel appropriate to you and follow them wherever they lead. There is a journey and adventure ahead, no matter what your age or circumstance. You are being called, and opportunities will always make themselves available to you when you follow the call. And the call is made not just to the young. Let me tell you about a woman who left her husband when she was in her early 60s. And the horror of her children, all middle-aged, as they tried to talk her out of her foolishness. Her uncertainty as she set out with only the clothes that she could carry in one suitcase, and a few $1,000s. She left the house, the investments, all the valuables with her husband. She had adventures, both good and bad, ending 4 years later in a vineyard in Italy, with her happily married to a farmer and living a new and fulfilling life. She did not heed her friend's advice that life was over, and so further destinies awaited her. She had the courage to leave a chronically complaining husband and a marriage that was barren, to trust the call within. Each of us is called to be courageous and trust the voice within. You cannot fake it. You know clearly when you're following the call and when you're not. We are all called to be brave and courageous at every step of our life. Every day, for that matter, gives us opportunities to be authentic and bold. When you rationalize, when you give in to fear, play it safe, or let others decide for you, something is lost. There is a hole in you that nothing can fill. You know that you have refused the call. Others may not know. In fact, they may compliment you on your decision. But you know. And each day that you try to deny it, you feel your integrity, your purpose, your lust for life leaking out through that gaping hole. But when you follow the call, every cell in your body is alive. There's an amplification of life and consciousness. Even if things are collapsing all around you, you feel invincible, like a warrior on a chariot, and everything within you is saying yes. You may not know what your next step is, but the adventure has begun. And what an adventure! Rupert Murdoch said, "Fortune favors the bold," and he is right. There is a providence, a sequence of events that happens when you have the courage to heed the call. You will find that doors will open, opportunities appear, and helping hands are offered every step of the way. Does this surprise you? It shouldn't, for you are now being guided by the star that burns bright within, and following this star will lead you to your happiness. Not all destinies are ours to live and explore, but neither is there just one. We all have within us hundreds of possible destinies. Depending upon your unique circumstances, numerous opportunities will be made available to you when you act boldly. You are never stuck. Life is always giving you choices. Philosopher Joseph Campbell said, "It takes courage to do what you want. Other people have a lot of plans for you." And that's true, they do. You don't have to apologize for being you. To discover who you are and to become more and more you is your purpose in life. Do not trouble yourself about being misunderstood. It's bound to happen. This too is part of the path. Being 100% authentic and true to your vision will undoubtedly offend some. It's the price you pay, but it's a small price for what you gain. In fact, if you're pleasing everyone all the time, you're probably not being true to yourself. While you should not go out of your way to offend or displease people, in some ways, you can use this as a barometer. If absolutely no one is upset or displeased with your choices in life, I would consider that a bad sign. Practice pursuing and following your uniqueness. This is your first call, and it's also your gift to the world. For following the call is never selfish. The voice within sees not just what is best for you, but also how you can best contribute to the greater whole. Paradoxically, we can offer greater contributions by being true to ourselves, by honoring the vision we have in our hearts, than we can by staying with what feels wrong. Who you are is far more unique than you would suspect. Your thoughts, your dreams, your aspirations, your beliefs, all these carry your individual imprint. Your experiences in life are unique. No one has lived a life like yours, nor will anyone have your particular opportunities. It is the uniqueness of your life journey that gives you the potential to contribute so much. All the solutions to the world's problems, all the social and environmental problems, the cures for cancer and AIDS, all lie within the consciousness of the human tribe. Each of us has been given a piece of the puzzle to bring forth, and we're called to do so. If we fail to go within and bring out our unique contribution, then this contribution, whether large or small, will be lost forever. Not all of us are called to be John Lennon, or Martin Luther King, or John Kennedy, or Albert Einstein, or Beethoven, or Nelson Mandela. But we are called to be ourselves, and to follow that path wherever it leads. Perhaps our call is that of the householder, to raise a family, to bring love, encouragement, and vision to our children. In the Hindu tradition, the role of the householder is held in the highest esteem. And if you follow this path, like all worthy vocations, further adventures lie within. There is a deeper, mysterious part of ourselves that transcends our day-to-day living. This other part of us seems to contain wisdom and understanding beyond what we can comprehend. You might call it God, or your subconscious mind, or even your future self. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you realize there is a guiding part of yourself that is always available to you. Quite often in times of great tragedy, we will hear it more clearly. Or at destiny points in our life, like when I was riding the streetcar, it will call to us. Prayer, meditation, quiet times, when we move beyond the busyness of day-to-day life in order to be refreshed from within, all these practices will help us to hear our inner voice. Even the simple awareness that this part of us exists makes us more receptive. When we live our life with this awareness, we're apt to trust our instinct and act upon what feels right. When something speaks within us, we listen, and then we ask ourselves if we have the courage to follow. But always the inner voice is there, calling us to fulfill our uniqueness, to become greater, happier, and more full of life than we ever could believe is possible. Follow the call wherever it leads. Your destiny is waiting for you. The second practice is called trusting life. In both the Mind Power training and in this advanced masterclass, I have emphasized again and again the importance of trusting ourselves to make the right decisions and trusting that our thoughts and beliefs create our reality. Through our inner work, we come to realize that we create our reality through our choices and actions, both in the inner world and the outer world. This should give us great comfort. We don't need to complain about life or wonder why things are happening to us, we can relax in the knowledge that everything is unfolding as it should, even if we don't fully understand it. And of course, there is mystery and uncertainty as well. But at its essence, we can trust the system to work for us if we follow certain principles and take the necessary steps to make our life work. To live creatively, we need a certain amount of faith in ourselves and in life. But unfortunately, not all of us do. Why do some people take the leap of faith and others not? What is the decision-making process, the gut feeling, the overriding factor that allows us to go for the dream? As children, we were naturally brave and courageous. Our inquisitiveness led us to continually explore our world, to do new and different things. We never said, "I wonder if it's going to work out or not," when trying something new. We just did it. We trusted life. But as we grew older, we lost much of this ability. Something happened, and we began to distrust life. We came to distrust ourselves, our instincts, our dreams. This is unfortunate because our fear and uncertainty about life often hold us in situations that are inappropriate. We hear the call, but do not have the courage to follow it. One of my favorite spiritual parables is that of the prodigal son. It tells the story of a young man who takes his inheritance and leaves his father's house, soon falling into bad habits and ways. And after a period of time, he realizes his new life is not making him happy. It's not working. But he is reluctant to return home, fearing condemnation for his actions. He finally finds the courage, and it takes courage. He finds the courage to return to the path that takes him back to his father. And when his father sees him coming from a distance, rather than chastising his son, the father rushes joyfully out to meet him, presents him with gifts, and orders a feast and celebration to be held in his son's honor. Now notice that the son didn't have to return home for this to happen. He only had to return on the path, on the way home. And his father saw him from a distance, and he rushed out to greet him. Wouldn't it be ideal if life was really like that? Well, it can be. But we must return to the ways of courage and innocence to experience it. Like the prodigal son, we too have fallen into bad habits and ways. We've allowed doubts, worry, indecision, fear, as well as a host of other negative attitudes to take root within. And they prevent us from discovering the joy in our lives. Life will always be generous with us when we return to its natural ways. The Muslims also have a belief about trust. In the Quran, it says that if you take one step towards Allah, Allah will take 10 steps towards you. But always, we are called to take the first step. And the first step is to move forward bravely in our life, to trust the process of life itself, to trust our instincts, our hearts, our passions, our dreams, to move ahead in life without needing to have all the answers, operating on instinct and faith. Operate on the premise that things are going to work out, and they usually do. At certain points in our life, we must all look deeply within ourselves and ask, do I trust life? And you will hear the answer. It will be either yes or no. Maybe the yes is loud and clear, and it surprises you with its clarity and strength. Then again, the yes must be the faintest whispers, barely audible. You struggle even to hear it, and yet it's there. It has been forgotten and neglected for so long that you're relieved to hear that it's still alive within you. You rejoice upon hearing it. I've known grown men and women who have wept upon hearing it because it gave them such courage and inspiration to carry on. If, on the other hand, the answer is no, don't despair. A new challenge lies before you. The relationship has been strained. Someone or something has let you down. A healing is required. All relationships are built upon trust. So too with life, and you must take the first step. Say yes to life. Yes. Say yes. Life is always calling us to step forward and embrace the great teacher, the great parent, the source of all we experience. When we do, life supports us. We are never alone or without guidance, never without opportunities and choices. Trusting life lets us recover from tragedies. It empowers us to take chances. It gives us courage. When we trust life, we can be more creative. Trusting life is the foundation of a happy and serene life. Practice trusting life. Notice how often problems work themselves out, how solutions always somehow appear when you need them. Life is supporting us in many ways we've simply not been noticing. Often we fight the process by worrying or trying too hard. In doing this, we're actually swimming against the tide. No wonder life can sometimes seem so hard. It's time to trust, let go, and just flow with it all. No matter what crisis or hardship you find yourself in, life will support you when you surrender completely to its mystery. The third practice is called the giveaway. Many years ago, I was fortunate enough to be part of a potlatch ceremony. I was invited by a Chippewa medicine man sun bear and jumped at the opportunity to attend. In the old days, in certain indigenous cultures, when a family or individual accumulated substantially more material wealth than the other residents of the village, a potlatch was given, and the prosperous individual gave away much of his possessions to his neighbors, and balance returned to the village. Nowadays, it is more a way of sharing some good fortune or just saying thank you to your community. It was a moving experience as gifts were dispersed to everyone, and I even had a few gifts given to me as well. Later that evening, after we'd all enjoyed a magnificent feast, I expressed my gratitude to Sun Bear for bringing me to the potlatch, telling him what a moving experience it had been for me. He replied, "There's actually a greater giveaway than the potlatch, and each of us is called to be a part of it. This giveaway happens within. We are called to give away our fear, our worry, our hates, our grudges. Give away all that weakens us and pollutes the stream of consciousness." I was intrigued by his expression, stream of consciousness, and asked him about it. Within each of us, a great stream of consciousness flows. This stream, if it's pure, will nourish the human tribe. If it's polluted, it will make us sick. In these times that we're living in today, we are polluting the stream by how we think. We need to change our ways, our values. We must purify the stream within to heal both ourselves and Grandmother Earth. And this giveaway can only be done one person at a time. In that moment, Sun Bear gave me something far more valuable than any possible material gift. He pointed the way to a new understanding of consciousness. Sun Bear was a healer, and a very good one, too. Many people came to him for healing. Sometimes he would sit by that person and sing healing songs to their bodily organs, talking to their cells and tissues as if they could hear him. At other times, he would smudge them and send them off to the sweat lodge. Or perhaps he would give them herbs. But regardless of what method he used, he always first followed a certain ritual. What he did is he would have them go out into the woods, dig a hole, and sit in front of that hole and release from their mind all their hates, grudges, guilt, resentment, whatever they had within them. He said, put these things in the hole, cover it up, and come back without that stuff in you. And he would send them off to do that. He was encouraging the person to release all the toxic substances that were choking them from within. Sun Bear felt that inner healing always preceded outer healing, and that the power of this symbolic act was enough to help that person give away that which was harming them. Then and only then could a true healing take place. And of course, I also spoke about this in our quantum healing session. Each of us adds or takes away from the whole of consciousness by the way in which we think. Our strength adds strength. Our weakness weakens the whole. Just as a pebble dropped in a pond causes ripples to spread throughout the entire pool, so too does our thinking cause ripples throughout the whole of human consciousness. It is no coincidence that our consciousness is shifting as the stakes are raised in our problem-filled world. We are lucky, those of us that are alive at this time of accelerated human evolution, to be able to consciously participate in the Great Awakening. This is a unique honor and privilege, but we must step up and play our part. If we think of ourselves as socially responsible, but ignore our own inner kingdom, we're fooling ourselves. Disharmony within is not a private act. We need to ask ourselves, where have I been polluting? What needs to be given away? We need to take responsibility for our attitudes and feelings, to give away that which no longer serves us, to give away our fear, our unhappiness, our depression, our hate, our disrespect for ourselves or others. By doing this, we are not only helping ourselves, but we're also actively participating in the evolution of consciousness. We need to let go, to become freer and lighter. Give it all away. If our mind is filled with regrets, resentments, fear, anger, there is no room for happiness. We're already full. We have to do a house cleaning internally. We have to make room within ourselves for inner peace and happiness. You cannot be happy and sad at the same time. You cannot have anger and inner peace simultaneously. You cannot be both positive and negative about the future. Something has to be given away. Inner harmony comes from recognizing that certain attitudes put us in harmony with life and others do not. It comes from noticing how we feel when we think in certain ways. anger, guilt, fear, worry, self-doubt, disrespect for ourselves or others. These attitudes almost always cause us problems. We should be aware when we slip into these states of consciousness. Practice monitoring your moods and observing how your mind shifts moment by moment. Happy, sad, overwhelmed, depressed, worried, excited, grateful, bored, amazed. The mind fluctuates between them all. Notice how each makes you feel. Practice cultivating those feelings that make you feel good and giving away those that don't. If you find that you worry a lot, why not give it away? It can be done. I know a man who one day decided to give up worry. He looked at it rationally, and he realized it never did him any good. He decided that if he were concerned about something, he would come up with a solution, act, or simply let it be. But worry, he realized, was always negative, always self-defeating, and always counterproductive. So he gave it up, just like that. If you find yourself critical of people, give it away. Give away your self-criticism too, and your regrets. Give away goals that no longer have any meaning for you. Give away everything that is holding your destiny and happiness hostage. Give it away. The fourth practice is loving kindness. We can bring kindness into our life and be the source of goodness for ourselves and others anytime we choose. And goodness is its own reward. When we help others, we are working with extraordinary energy. The joy and happiness that love and compassion for others brings is one of the best-kept secrets. The benefits are so enormous and consistent that you have to wonder why we don't practice kindness more often. Helping others always makes us feel good. Always. Think back to times when you've given of yourself completely. Maybe you've nursed a sick friend back to health, or helped in a soup kitchen, or coached the school football team, or volunteered to raise money for some charity. How did it make you feel? And why did it make you feel so good? What is there in loving and helping one another that is so nurturing to our souls? Perhaps, in doing so, we are rediscovering our connection to one another. Caring for one another, we sometimes glimpse at an essential quality of our being. We may be sitting alone, lost in self-doubt or self-pity, or maybe self-importance, or imagining a goal that we're going to achieve, or something that we already have achieved. And then the phone rings, and it's a call from a friend who's really depressed. Instinctively, we come out of ourselves just to be there with him or her, and we say a few reassuring words, and when we're done, a little comfort has been shared. When we put down the phone, we feel a little bit more at home with ourselves. We're reminded of who we really are and what we have to offer one another. Unfortunately, our lives are busy. Sometimes we feel there's no time to help. There's always so many things that we have to do, and they all seem so important. But if we do not value helping one another, if we do not see this as an important part of our growth and development, what does that say about us? What path are we on if loving kindness is not part of the journey? Do we really think that making more money, or watching another night of TV or being on social media is going to help us to have a happier, more meaningful life. We search for happiness in romance and achievements, possessions, exciting experiences, and all these bring some satisfaction, but always more is needed. The paradox is that if we're totally preoccupied with only our own happiness, we will never truly achieve it. The Japanese have an expression for neurotic self-preoccupation, and it's loosely translated as tone deaf about life. This condition has us totally preoccupied with only ourselves. Every event and circumstance in our life is measured by how it affects us personally. Others are not considered. This self-centeredness is the cause of most of our suffering. Think about it. When you're unhappy, are you thinking about yourself or others? Always yourself. This should teach us something. We must learn to love and bring kindness to others. The practice of loving kindness is simply being open and responsive to others. It is helping one another through small acts of kindness and compassion. Not once in a while, but regularly and consistently, so that we lose our sense of isolation and begin to feel our oneness and the joy that such oneness brings. Our mind may try and conceptualize the idea that we are all one, but we can never really know this only with our mind. Not even an enlightened mind can know this. But our heart knows it intimately. All the great religions teach us the oneness of us all. In the Bible, Jesus says to his apostles, "I was hungry and you fed me, thirsty and you gave me drink, sick and you ministered me to health, in prison and you visited me." And his apostles were shocked. They said, "When were you hungry and we fed you, sick and we ministered you back to health, in prison and we visited you?" And Jesus said, "Inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of my people, you have done it unto me." Jesus, in his enlightened state, knew and understood we are all one. From a quantum perspective, we know that this is true as well. At least conceptually, we know it's true. But can we bring this knowing into our life in a new, more compassionate way? A way that nourishes not just others, but ourselves as well? Can we walk our talk? Can we live our truth? Yes, we can. If we see loving kindness as an important part of who we are, of being part of our community, part of our tribe, part of the human race, and if we see it as actually a means to our own happiness. In the Buddhist tradition, you are taught to practice loving kindness as a way of not just helping the world, but as a way of helping yourself to break the bonds of neurotic self-preoccupation. It's neurotic to be constantly focused on just yourself without thinking of others. Letting others in our life makes us richer and more alive. We do it not out of duty. We do it because it's the most natural and obvious thing to do. We do it because it brings oneness to our life. In Southern Africa, they have a philosophy of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is translated as, "I am because you are." Ubuntu is loving kindness in action, and it is through helping one another that we discover who we are. This ancient African teaching, hundreds of years old, is as relevant today as when it was first initiated. According to the Buddhist tradition, in the 10 stages of enlightenment, the final stage is called entering the marketplace with helping hands. After enlightenment, you are called to be of service. Do you see a pattern here in all these teachings? This is a path to be followed, and it begins with empathy, feeling others' pain, feeling others' confusion, feeling others' need, feeling others, and intuitively helping where helping is required. As we increase our ability to feel others, we increase our ability to feel wonder and awe of the mystery of our life, and to feel gratitude for what we have been given in our imperfect life. And yes, it is imperfect. No life is perfect. But this life is filled with so much. Empathy allows us to love others and accept others for who they are rather than who we think they should be. Others do not have to match our expectations, just as we don't have to match theirs. We're all fragile and flawed, and we all need love and acceptance. We can love and accept others, and if we can do this for others, we can do it for ourselves. Let's love ourselves deeply. A great many of our problems in life occur because we don't always appreciate ourselves. Developing appreciation for ourselves allows us to see our potential as well as our problems. We discover that even though we're not perfect, there's still an immense value and beauty in who we are. And this is reassuring. Being open and honest with ourselves helps us to be open and honest with others. We learn that we can relate with others on the basis of the goodness and beauty we discover in ourselves. When we open our hearts large enough to include ourselves and let go of our harsh judgments, something wonderful happens within. We flower and grow strong in this ever-present love and acceptance. Our inner light burns brighter, and we're amazed to see ourselves as special and unique, and to see our true worth. This practice of nourishing ourselves and others in this way allows us to become strong and self-assured. Unconditional, total love is called for. Even the unappealing parts of ourselves are to be loved and accepted. This is the challenge. And when we rise to the challenge, great alchemy takes place. There is a new dawning, a new life without shame or judgment, a life nourished from within, a life of self-acceptance, a life of loving kindness towards all. The fifth practice is having fun. We are called to have fun in our life, not once in a while, but consistently and regularly. To prioritize fun and to make time and bring fun, joy, and beauty back into our lives. I spoke in the session on health and healing, the amazing curative energy of having fun. But not only is it good for our health, we discover fun is a means of making us happy. And of course it's a way of making us happy. It's so obvious. But somehow we have forgotten this. Actually, we've forgotten a lot about how to be in balance and live a meaningful life. Time to call upon our artist. When things are too serious in our life, or we feel stressed or sluggish, we need to call upon the artist in ourselves to shake things up. Maybe we need to take a walk or put aside that important project that's overdue and take in a movie. Anything, something. There are hundreds of ways to break the tension and take the pressure off. Sometimes we just have to trust the reckless part of ourselves. Poet Maya Angelou suggests a day off when things get out of kilter. She said, "Every person needs to take one day away, a day in which one consciously separates the past from the future. Jobs, lovers, family, employers, and friends can exist one day without any one of us. And if our egos permit us to confess, they could exist eternally in our absence." Each person deserves a day away in which no problems are confronted, no solutions searched for. Each of us needs to withdraw from the cares which will not withdraw from us. We need hours of aimless wandering, or time sitting on park benches, observing the mysterious world of ants and the canopy of treetops. A day away acts as a spring tonic. It can dispel confusion, transform indecision, and renew the spirit. How true. We need to renew our spirit regularly. A busy life necessitates it. We've become too full of activities, too serious, too adult. No wonder kids often think we're dull and boring. In many ways, that's what we've become. We should get back to our roots and instincts, bring in more balance. We need to have more fun, and to do so, we have to be more creative and spontaneous, to seize the opportunities life presents us whenever and wherever we find them. Here, children can teach us a lot. In the Bible, we read that unless we become as little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. What does this mean? What is it about children that we are to imitate? Their trusting nature? Their innocence? The way they live life moment by moment? Certainly all these things. But what about children's most natural instinct, that of having fun? Look closely, and you will see fun and joy springing eternally from within them. Children point the way. Spontaneity, creativity, and the ability to let go and have fun are lessons children can teach us. We would be wise to watch closely how well they master and perform these activities, how they can make fun out of almost anything. In these activities, they are the teachers and we are the students. Having fun daily, even if it's only for a few minutes, is a life-affirming practice. It's also a powerful symbol to our subconscious. It is saying, I am worthy. Life is good. Even small amounts of fun every day can have a profound effect. We must be diligent in taking the time to nourish ourselves. If no matter how busy we are, we still have the wisdom to take time for ourselves, we will be well compensated. Don't be fooled by pressures and responsibilities. They will wait for you. We set the agenda of our life, and in our agenda, there must always be time for fun. Practice being spontaneous. Surprise yourself by being childlike sometimes. Let each day hold a gift or two for you. Practice bringing fun, joy, and nonsense into your life every day. When you find yourself wondering, should I or shouldn't I, don't hesitate. Do it. There's an Apache legend that states that The Creator created human beings and gave them the ability to see and talk and hear and think. Then He gave them free will. But still, something was missing. He thought for a while and realized what it was. Finally, He gave them the ability to laugh and have fun. And only then did He consider the human beings were complete. Fun must be a priority in our life. Design a fun and interesting life. Make fun a priority. The sixth practice is life is a journey, not a destination. To live our life with this realization is to profoundly change how we view ourselves and our life. Life itself is the great journey. There is no destination. Destinations are illusionary in that they are not here now. In this practice, our focus and attention are on today. Not just today, but right now. What's happening right now in our life is what is most important. Our happiness depends upon understanding this. Each moment of every day is a part of this journey. Each moment has the potential to fulfill us. Our family life, our work, our hobbies, our morning or evening walk, time with friends. All these are excellent opportunities for experiencing moments of happiness. Within these simple daily activities is hidden the meaning of life. Jewish theologian Martin Buber tells a Hasidic tale about a teacher who lived an unusually abundant and happy life. After his death, one of his disciples was asked, "What was the most important to your teacher?" The student answered, "Whatever he happened to be doing at the moment." Jesus taught, "Take no thought of tomorrow. Tomorrow will look after itself." Can we possibly live our life day by day? This sounds too idealistic. How can we take no thought of tomorrow? We have families, mortgages, commitments, plans. Are we to ignore these responsibilities? No, not at all. They will always be there. We simply practice appreciating what is in our life today, to find joy today. We practice compassion today. We experience today fully. If we can do this, tomorrow naturally looks after itself. Sure, we have plans and commitments in the future, but our thoughts and focus can be on today. Our life is a continuous event, always with us, but we're not always with it. Where are we? In our minds. We're busy thinking about other things, thinking about the past, which we can do nothing about, making plans for the future that is not yet here. We're not noticing what is in front of us right now, not letting the fullness of the moment in. We must change this way of living. We can never be happy in the past or in the future. We can only be happy now. Our call is to enjoy life now. Now is where we will always find ourselves. Now is where our life happens. Many years ago, while traveling in Tibet, my wife Sylvia and I witnessed a sand painting in progress. Daily in a local market, the maroon-robed monks worked diligently creating an intricate forms that made up the mandala. They had piping bags like you use in cake decoration, only instead of icing sugar, different colored sands were used, and each detail was completed with the utmost attention. There were 6 or more monks working on it at any given time. Each day we returned to the market, we looked forward to seeing what new designs had been created. After a week, we were told tomorrow it would be finished, and to celebrate, a ceremony would be held. We were sure that we were there early. An elaborate ceremony followed, and then something totally unexpected happened. All at once, the painting was destroyed. The monks rushed into the mandala and just rubbed it out. The hundreds of man-hours that it took to create this beautiful masterpiece were wiped away in a single moment. I was stunned. I had not been expecting that. This action defies our Western sensibilities. Our Western notion of labor is that we work in order to achieve a result. It is what we produce from our effort that is important. But to the Buddhists, it is the process that matters, not the final achievement. It is the attentiveness to each moment. It is the journey of creating the mandala and not the mandala itself that is important. There is a great lesson to be learned here as we rush through our lives, striving to be successful. It is incredibly reassuring to know that the journey is more important than the destination. What could be more reassuring than to realize that our life has meaning, purpose, and value not by what we achieve or possess, but simply because we are. Zen Buddhism stresses the importance of living life moment by moment. They have many meditations and practices that assist the student to experience this. One of the practices is to begin thinking of the now, not as a concept, but as a place you can enter, a different dimension, as it were, a dimension where one experiences the delicious sensations of being fully aware, letting go of our worries and expectations, and relaxing into whatever moment our life is happening. When the thinking mind is silenced in this way, even for a few moments, an extraordinary awareness occurs. Our reality is experienced in a direct way, without the filter of conceptual thinking. And what do we see and experience? Everything becomes grander and fuller. We discover that we need nothing more than what we have. We are amazed at how much beauty, joy, and wonder exist in this most ordinary of experiences of today. Many years ago, when I was touring Australia, a student of mine asked me to come and visit his father. His father had been diagnosed with terminal cancer and had only a few months to live. There was nothing that anybody could do. But nonetheless, he wanted me to meet his father. And so I agreed. And I arrived at their home. Actually, it was more than a home. It was a mansion. And his father greeted me, and he took me out to their backyard. And it was amazing. It had the most stunning view of the Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour. And the home was palatial. The grounds were extraordinary. And his father said to me, "Look at this, John. Look at this view. Isn't it amazing?" And I said, "Yes, it's really spectacular. You're very lucky to be living here." And he said, "You know what? It's so funny that I've been living here for over 20 years. And I've been out here hundreds and hundreds of times. But it wasn't until I was diagnosed with terminal cancer that when I came out here and I saw it for the very first time." And then he told me a story about his life. He told me about how when he had been raised, his family was very poor, and his parents could not supply him with even toys, and that he went without many things as he was growing up. And he made a promise to himself that he would be successful, and that his family would never want for anything. And he said, John, I've been very successful. I've made a great deal of money. I think you might even call me a workaholic. But I fulfilled that promise, and my family has never wanted for anything. However, I didn't spend as much time with them that I should have, and it's just now that I'm realizing it. And this view, John, look at it. It's so extraordinary, and yet I only saw it for the first time several weeks ago. I never really saw it. I looked at it, but I never really saw it. And he began weeping. And I began crying with him because there was nothing any of us could do. And he did die several months later. And what I want to say to you is don't miss the view. And the view is what's happening in your life each and every day. Don't miss it. Be happy now. Enjoy the experiences of your life now. See what's going on. Experience it all. Let it all in. It's a mistake to put off being happy. We've become so preoccupied with getting things done and trying to achieve our goals that we forget to be happy now. Then, when we achieve the goals we thought were so important to us, we find that happiness that we had hoped to find is fleeting. Something more is needed. Buddha understood this well. He taught that for every desire you fulfill, more desires will always come to take its place. This is the nature of life. You will never be happy by simply achieving goals or attaining more possessions. Happiness comes by embracing the journey and appreciating our life here and now. Practice finding simple moments of joy and happiness each day. Notice how many daily experiences are actually pleasurable. Think of happiness as something to be experienced and enjoyed many times each day. I had an experience that happened to me many years ago that really taught me the meaning of happiness. And it taught me about perfect moments. And what it was is I was taking a bath on a beautiful summer day. Sylvia was out somewhere, I was on my own, and I had the window open, and there was a breeze blowing in, caressing my skin, and I'm in the hot bath water, and I've got Neil Young playing, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm just feeling so complete. And then I notice that there's a little spider web in the window, tiny little spider web, and a small little spider, and that the spider web is vibrating in the wind. And I realized in that moment that I'm having a perfect moment. I need nothing more than what's happening now. And I was totally happy. Maybe in a half hour or an hour, something will grab my attention. I'll have to deal with something and I'll have a difficulty. But right now, I'm having a perfect moment. And not only that, but I'm sharing it with the spider. Here and the spider and I are in this perfect moment together enjoying Neil Young. Now, that was a little bit of a projection because I don't know. Maybe the spider hated Neil Young. Maybe he wished I would just turn off the music. But nonetheless, there I was, having a perfect moment. And I thought to myself, how many perfect moments do each of us have in our life? And by perfect moments, I mean moments where nothing else is needed but what is happening. Actually, we have many of them. And if we can begin to think of our life as being made up of all these perfect moments, then we will be able to obtain happiness. Trying to have a happy life, I think, is neurotic. I mean, a life is a long time. And if you're trying to have a happy life, then any time that something displeases you or isn't what you want, then suddenly you're unhappy. But if life is a journey and not a destination, and actually it's about these perfect moments, and we know and understand that, then we can begin to look for them. And when you begin to look for them, you will find them. Always, every day, there are perfect moments. There are moments that you'll have with your children or your spouse or your friend, or reading a good book or enjoying a piece of music or enjoying nature. There's all these perfect moments that we're having in our life. Forget about having a perfect life. Forget about it. And focus on enjoying the perfect moments, the moments that are full and complete into themselves, moments where you feel content and at peace and happy. That's what life is all about. Practice finding simple moments of joy and happiness each day. We've been looking to be happy and fulfilled and at peace with ourselves. We have been looking everywhere but where we are. We need search no longer. Embracing our life, we discover that all is contained within this very moment. This is an extraordinary journey we're on, and it's happening to us now. The seventh practice is to choose happiness. I said at the beginning of this session that the secret of happiness could be summed up in one sentence. Actually, just 4 words. Here it is. Happiness is a choice. That's it. There will always be numerous reasons in your life to be either happy or unhappy. Each day of your life offers an abundance of rationales to support whatever position you choose. If you want to be happy, look at your life and find reasons to be happy. If you want to be unhappy, then you will likewise find many reasons to be unhappy. It's your choice. This, then, is the final practice, the practice of choosing happiness. I have left this practice to the end, but in many ways, it's the first and most important practice of all. For without mastering this practice, all the others are useless. Let me share with you a Zen parable. A group of monks meditated each day in the monastery, and each wondered when and if they would ever become enlightened. One morning they heard that one of them had become enlightened, and that the Roshi of the monastery had verified it the night before. Now, in the Zen tradition, you must have your enlightenment verified by the head monk, the Roshi, as it's easy to deceive yourself. But this monk had been verified. He had attained enlightenment. So the monks rushed to seek out the newly enlightened monk. Finding him in the garden, they asked excitedly, "Is it true? Have you become enlightened?" "Yes, it's true," he answered humbly. "How wonderful!" they exclaimed in unison. "Tell us, how do you feel?" "Oh, miserable as ever," he responded. I love that parable. It shakes the senses and pulls the foundation out from beneath us exactly as it's meant to. We expect the lucky monk to answer that enlightenment is beautiful, serene, blissful, beyond all description. We are not prepared for his answer. It makes us re-examine our whole concept of enlightenment. Now notice he doesn't say he is more miserable or less miserable, just miserable as ever. His realization is, this is it. Another Zen saying states the same thing in a slightly different way. After enlightenment, laundry. In other words, day-to-day life goes on. Don't expect life to be suddenly perfect at any time. So too with happiness. Maybe we've been looking in the wrong places. Zen masters spend many years meditating in order to become enlightened. And they become enlightened, and their enlightenment is often expressed as, "This is it." They get it. Life is what is right in front of us now. Life is happy. Life is sad. Life is sickness. Life is health. Life is failure. Life is success. It's all life. You cannot take it apart piece by piece. Each of our lives contains an incredible range of experiences. Some will be tremendously enjoyable, and others will be terrible. That's life. It's a package deal. Remember when you were growing up and you imagined what it was going to be like when you were an adult? Well, guess what? You're all grown up, and this is it. But it's different than what I thought. Yes, life never matches what we think it could be, should be, will be. These projections keep us from seeing what is truly going on here and now. Let go of all that and look in front of you. Look at your life. This is it. We want life to be perfect, but life is not perfect. One of the biggest reasons we become unhappy and stuck in our life is that we fall into the trap of playing, "I will be happy when." And by playing this game, we delude ourselves into believing that it is our circumstances and situations that are keeping us from being happy, and that when these particular circumstances that we're in change, we will finally be happy. It's a no-win game, and each of us plays it in our own unique way. It goes something like this. I will be happy when I'm a success. I will be happy when I'm married. I will be happy when I'm finally divorced, when the world has no poverty, or my father cures himself of his cancer, or my back is better, or I get the promotion, or when I feel less stressed, when I'm a millionaire. And you can add hundreds of other reasons why you're not happy. As soon as life is different, changes, matches our expectations, then we will be happy. But no matter what we achieve, something else always comes along to provide us with new reasons to be unhappy. At one point or another, we have to accept personal responsibility for uplifting our own lives. No one else can do it for us. We have a life, and we're living it now. It is wondrous, exciting, frightening, overwhelming, confusing, mysterious, and it's all happening to us moment by moment. Our life is a never-ending event, and while we might not always understand it, we can always appreciate it. All things change and become something else. Nothing stays the same. Life moves forward. And if we do not appreciate what we have now, we might not get another chance to appreciate it. We assume we'll live a long, healthy life and that there's lots of time to do the things that are important to us, and maybe we're right. But then again, maybe you will die tomorrow in a car accident. It's entirely possible. Thousands of people do each year, and none of them planned it. Several years ago, I read a very moving story in the newspaper about a Japanese businessman who wrote a letter to his family during the final 20 minutes of a fatal airline flight. They were over mountains, and he knew a crash was imminent. He also knew his chances of surviving were slight. So he poured out his heart to his wife and his children, all his regrets, all that he hadn't done or said to them. The plane crashed and there were no survivors. The letter was found in the wreckage. Joni Mitchell, in one of her songs, sang, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?" Well, don't wait. We never know what tomorrow will bring, but we do have today. And here, daily gratitude can assist us. To give gratitude for what we have uplifts us in a way nothing else can. You could call it our secret practice. I've spoke of gratitude several times in this training, and here once again. Gratitude for what you have now is one of the surest ways to happiness. This we can learn. We can learn to be happy. Happiness takes practice, as does anything else that you want to be proficient at. A carpenter sharpens his saw and keeps his tools in good condition so that he may be an effective carpenter. He hones his skills by repeatedly practicing them. The more he practices, the better he becomes. And a carpenter of 20 years' experience is much more accomplished than a novice. The professional dancer who leaps across the stage, making it look easy and effortlessly, actually trains extensively. Daily exercises, stretches, routines. What looks effortless, in fact, takes lots of practice. The Zen master doesn't become enlightened through desire alone. He practices meditations daily until enlightenment happens. The Christian mystic, the Hindu holy man, the North American Indian shaman, all have their practices and disciplines that allow them to progress along their chosen paths. So too with happiness. Practice trusting life and following your call, and you will soon find yourself with a fun and interesting life. Practice gratitude, and you will be filled with joyful moments. Practice giving away your criticism of yourself and others, and you will feel free and light as a bird in flight. Practice loving kindness, and your heart will open, and you will come to know your intimate connection to all things. And finally, practice choosing happiness, and you will find yourself happy far more than not. John Lennon said, "Life is what happens while we're busy making other plans." It's true. In our haste to make a living, don't forget to make a life. It's all a choice, and how we choose to live our life is ours and ours alone. And here we can be very creative. We can choose to make happiness a priority or to put it off. We can choose to be happy or unhappy. It's a choice. I know a man whose spiritual practice is happiness. It was a conscious decision that he made after much reflection. He said, "It's my gift to my family, it's my gift to myself, and it's my gift to God." I practice happiness the way some people practice prayer or meditation. It is my prayer and meditation. That's beautiful. This man's prayer and meditation is happiness. How creative is that? Happiness is a gift you can give your family if you choose to practice it daily. If you're happy, it affects your spouse, your children, those you come in contact with on a regular basis, even those you encounter just once. It affects everyone. Not only that, but your regular practice of happiness will seep into the collective unconsciousness and help others to be happy. because this pattern will vibrate and resonate throughout the entire energy web as a possibility for others. This is the quantum truth. Every choice we make has an impact, not just for ourselves, but for all of us. We are all one and connected. Being happy is one of the most beneficial practices we can bring into our life. It helps many of us. It helps so many people. It weaves the web with possibilities and paves a path for others. So don't be selfish. Choose happiness. And now, the exercises for the week. The first exercise is to choose happiness. As I have shared with you in this master class, there are many reasons to be happy and many reasons to be unhappy. If you want to be happy, then find reasons to be happy. It's a conscious choice that each of us makes. Choose happiness each day. Try and be happy at least 6 times a day minimum. Maybe a whole morning will go by and you realize you haven't been happy yet. Well, get going and find something to be happy about. Practice happiness. The second exercise is the giveaway. Have a look at what is holding you back from being happy. Do you need to give up criticism, fear, self-pity, worry? Maybe you need to cut back on some of your goals. Maybe they don't feel right anymore. Maybe you're pushing yourself too hard. Maybe not. Decide what you need to give up. This week, I want you to give up something that is holding you back in your life, and be disciplined in giving it up for a full week. Who knows? You might find that actually you no longer need this aspect in your life. You might enjoy being without it. The giveaway practice is like being a sculptor. In sculpting, you chip away at everything that isn't your vision. It's a process of elimination. So too in this exercise. Chip away at whatever no longer serves you. The third exercise is to visualize yourself practicing the various techniques in this segment and actually being happy. Start imagining yourself as happy, content, at peace, enjoying life day by day, and lose yourself in this visualization for 5 minutes each day. The final exercise is to choose 3 mind power techniques and to continue to work on your success goals that you have chosen for yourself. 5 minutes on each technique, so a total of 15 minutes on your success goals. This gives you a total of 30 minutes of exercises for this week. So have a fun week, a creative week, a happy week. Do your exercises each and every day, and I'll see you next week for Masterclass number 7. Welcome to Masterclass number 6. I want to begin this session by asking you a very important question. How important is happiness to you? This is not a trick question. In the priorities of your life, where does happiness stand? You might say, of course happiness is important to me. It's maybe the most important thing in my life. Okay, here's 2 more questions. When do you plan to be happy? And how do you plan to achieve that? Each of us wants to be happy. Happiness is one of the most basic human desires, and yet so little is known or understood about it. What exactly is happiness? Is it contentment? Being at peace? Being ecstatic or joyful? What causes happiness, and what makes it go away? Can it be permanent? These are important questions, and yet few of us seem to know the answers. Is it achieving our goals which makes us happy? Is it health, wealth, personal fulfillment? One would think that having these things would make us happy, but it seems that the answer is not so obvious or simple as that. There are people that are in excellent health, and yet they're desperately unhappy. There are multimillionaires who are miserable, and people of very little means who are content. Some people are highly successful in their careers, and yet they feel that they have nothing. Others who have achieved much less are perfectly happy. Obviously, there is more here than meets the eye. So, just what is it that brings happiness? Is there a secret to happiness that if we knew this secret, we would be forever happy? Many years ago, I set off on a journey to seek the answer to these questions. I've spent time in Himalayan hermitages with Buddhist monks, in jungles with African healers, in sweat lodges with North American indigenous shamans. Many wise men and women have helped me in my journey, including the